Hello everyone and welcome to the Hearthstone Grand Prix here at DreamHack. We do have the finals coming up soon, but while the players just have a few minutes to just get ready and prepare for their final match, especially Mitsuhide, who has just finished his semi-finals, I've had some thoughts about starting a talk show, so I wanted to sit down with Loyan as my first special guest.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Oh yeah, really great answer there, my friend.
Yeah.
So you're, you've not fairly recently actually, but are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Just go.
Okay. So you're a member of Complexity, as you're eating, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're a streamer as well. So how's the streaming life?
Pretty good. I pretty much beg for donations and subscribers every single day.
All right. Is that what the clothing's about?
Yeah, just
the beggar look.
Yeah, you just like look like homeless guy.
Oh, okay, perfect. And did you this event? This is the first DreamHack you've played in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Okay. So, what did you? How much preparation did you put into this? Because as you're a streamer, of course.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't play competitive. So you hit very high legend.
Yeah.
But you just naturally don't have much time to play in some big tournaments because you're streaming all the time.
Yeah.
What was your sort of level of preparation coming into this? Did you come more for the experience, or did you actually come to try and win the whole thing? Because you did do very well.
I honestly did practice with Crane and Casey a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like my normal, training group partners.
Yep.
And we had like really good decks. We did prep like for 2 weeks, kind of solid. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what was it like trying to prepare whilst keeping up a streaming schedule as well? Because that's what I think, a lot of players who edge more towards streaming actually just say that, it's really hard to try and, practice, keep, on the top level for tournament play while streaming a full-time schedule. And you do stream quite a lot, so.
I mean, it's hard because you gotta in the end play Hearthstone for 12 hours, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to play the decks which you want to play in the tournament on the ladder, because we did play this NZ Warrior with summoners, the 1/1 through 4.
Yeah.
And we had this deck 2 weeks ago, and then we just kind of showed it to everybody, and all people did start playing it. Instead of just keeping for the DreamHack, right?
Yeah, well that's the problem, right? While you're streaming, you can't really reveal the list you're planning to take because then it ruins the surprise factor release. And also, in terms of practicing on ladder, it's not the same, right? You can't really practice all the time on ladder, hence the practice partners. So, how's the food going, by the way?
It's pretty good. You want that?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay for now. You did bring me a donut this morning, so I was happy.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I owe you one from that. In terms of performance and lineup for this event, really, were you happy with everything you brought, even though you didn't quite make it to the finals, but you got close?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of shaky about Warrior because the last day we did change Ragnar's for Slime just to make Zoo matchup really good.
Yeah. And
just to win against Tempo Mage and just aggro decks in general nearly all the time. So that was the plan. I mean, kind of worked out. I got to the top 8, so I can't.
Yeah, worked out pretty well. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
And have you had a chance to look at the new upcoming expansion and some of the new cards that have been announced yet?
No, I'm still waiting for every single card. It's
you
really
don't
hard.
look at the cards till.
I mean, I do, but it's really hard to describe.
Initial impressions. I'm not going to hold you to any of this, as everyone's always wrong when they guess about cards anyway. But do you like the look of some of the new cards?
Where is the camera which is looking at us?
The one with the red light. There you go.
Brokeback.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. So really deep in-depth analysis from Loyan.
Yeah.
As always, I appreciate.
Yeah.
When's your next event that's coming up? Are you competing in anything coming up soon?
I don't know. If I get any invites, invite me.
Works every time. Just to ask for the invites. What about HCT? Are you going to be trying to qualify?
Oh yeah,
again?
definitely.
Yeah? Okay. So you're going to do that mainly through ladder finishes, right?
Yeah.
Get those open cups done as well?
Yeah. I mean, how many points did I get for top 8 here?
I guess you put
2?
me on the spot now. It goes from, I think it's 15 for first, 12, so maybe 8? I think it's something like that. I'm going to be punished for not knowing this off the top of my head, but...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Look at me when I'm talking to you, Loyan. Come on.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you look into my eyes when you're talking to me? Just a silent moment there.
I'm not going to win this. I'll blink first.
Good, I win. Perfect. Just a staring contest on stream for everyone there. How many of those do you have?
I did steal them.
Don't admit to that. Don't admit to that. That's kind of bad.
I mean, from Twitch launch.
Oh, that's okay.
So it's for free, guys.
So,
come on.
So come on. Right, okay. We'll get to some more.
I mean, they
serious-
gave me an entire bag, so.
The silliest interview. Why did they give me you to interview, Lion? Come on. So bad.
Yeah. At least we can eat together.
I'm okay. I'm so good.
Okay.
I feel like you're doing this on purpose, though.
No, I just like to eat them.
How's it going on Complexity?
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
you liking it?
yeah.
Fantasy's a cool guy, isn't he?
Fantasy?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He is. And how are your teammates? Is there anyone you don't like?
I mean, no, I like them all.
Just trying to trick you into an answer there.
It's not like I can say like I
You
hate
can. They're
someone.
not watching. It's fine. Shh.
I'm not.
No?
Yeah, I love them all.
Okay, here's the one. Who's your favorite?
Ooh.
Who's your favorite on Complexity?
If you'd be on Complexity, it would be my favorite one.
Good. And did you hear that, Sol? Lauren said if I was on Complexity, I would
No
be his
way.
favorite. There you go. You can't see this, everyone, but Sol is simply. Here we go. You can see this. Get in here.
Yeah.
And so I'm also the better British caster, right? Hey, no, Sol, go away. Don't look at him. It's fine. Okay, he's done. So that is going to be the interview wrapped up with Loyan. Thanks a lot, my friend. We're going to go to a very short break now. We're almost ready for the grand finals here at the Hearthstone Grand Prix here at DreamHack. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back soon.
Greetings and welcome everybody back to DreamHack Winter 2016. It's time for the grand finals where we crown a champion to top end our year and of course give them a lot of money and HCT points. My name is Frodan. I am joined by Sottle and Lothar, who will be bringing you guys the commentary for the final match between Mitsuhide from Gamers Origin and the Netherlands up against Weghuz, a new and up-and-coming player and streamer hailing from the homeland of Sweden. So guys, we have a lot to talk about prior to the match. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes, but prior to that, we want to introduce to you guys the players and a little bit about what to expect for the grand finals for anybody who's missed a lot of the DreamHack Hearthstone tournament so far. So what's the first thing we want to talk about? So I'll give you the first volley.
I think the first thing that really jumps out to me about these grand finals is that they both have the potential to carry on a DreamHack legacy in their own right. You know, Weghuz would at least follow the pattern of a local winner after what we saw from Evangelion winning DreamHack Valencia as a Valencia local, sponsored in fact by the Valencia football team. Yep. And Weghuz, again, a native to this area, would be able to follow up that pattern. Mitsuhide, from his part, he would continue the legacy of Gamers Origin players winning, because of course Purple is a previous DreamHack champion who picked that win very shortly after being signed to Gamers Origin. And he's also following the DreamHack legacy. As the question I asked him about when he won, he's really risen through the ranks, going through the Swiss and then the side tournaments, and now he's here in Grand Finals. So he is living testimony to the idea that this huge open tournament, this DreamHack Swiss experiment really works and is a driving part of the scene.
And we also had, during DreamHack Bucharest, with the PGL Tavern a Romanian winner on the Romanian soil,
There you go.
soil with Hannibal's winning in Cluj-Napoca, actually, not in Bucharest. So that's another story that adds up on top of that.
Yeah, I believe that the Grand Prix pretty much just works specifically for this opportunity to give players a chance to make a name for themselves without necessarily getting into the invitationals, without necessarily having to go through these incredibly difficult tournaments like the Hearthstone Championship Tour preliminaries and championships, where ultimately the exposure goes to just 8 players who's able to go through that portion. Very limited pool and opportunities there, especially if you're not able to grind ladder for months to do it. It's a chance where basically everyone's equal. You sign up for the tournament, you just play through 9 rounds of Swizz like everybody else, no favor receiving, no opportunity to skip rounds, and in the end, you're just stuck with your lineup. And what's really cool about it, too, is just that these guys took 2 different philosophies to get to the point. We've seen Hunter kind of dismiss as a class that we don't really see play at all, and yet Mitsuhide has been using it to his advantage and be able to get really far in the tournament. And also the paths that we see that these guys get to here also. We see Weghuz, like you said, rising up through the local tournaments, but also the fact that he's been able to play very well. He's had a lot of respect from the other players who've been going up and telling him, saying, wow, you've been playing really well, and you've actually been playing a lot better than the other half of the bracket, and this, blah, blah, blah. Like, Life Coach was saying that he thought Weghuz played the best out of anyone today. And I think that's very high praise from a guy like Life Coach who prides himself in technical playability. And that took me aback, and that's something that stood out to me.
Yeah, I got a chance to actually sit down at the start of the day. We got here a little bit early, of course, to get prepared. And I was sat down with Sintalol and Weghuz, and we were playing a few ladder games on Sintalol's account. And one of my favorite things to do in terms of getting a handle on how good a player is just play some games with them, learn how they think about the game, what's going through their head. They vocalize all these thought processes, and there's this kind of hive mind input thing going on. And he definitely had a lot of great insight during the games that we're playing, and it impressed me even then. And then watching him play his top 8 matches, he just continued that great impression, and I think he's a deserving player that we now see here in the Grand Finals.
And one more thing as well, this is his first appearance on a big stage, and nerves are coming into play, and yet even under the pressure, he's not crumbling. So that's another thing that actually adds on top of everything here.
Certainly. And while the name doesn't necessarily stand out immediately, you don't win 12 series of Hearthstone or up to 12 by just being a scrub. You come here being able to play your A game, and ultimately the people who go through, you can argue to say that they deserve to do it because they put a lot of hard work and time into their lineups, into their plays, and it applies to both of these players. Taking a look at the lineups, I believe the bans are in. It shouldn't be that surprising for a lot of people. Shaman's been banned from Weghuz. He plays the traditional lineup that we've come to expect, which is heavily dependent on Zoo and being able to tech for the mirrors. You expect to see your opponent ban Shaman, you expect your opponent to bring Zoo Warlock. Is your edges better than the edges that your opponent was trying to bring? People had different philosophies on it. I'm trying to make sure I win Control Warrior mirrors, or make sure I can bias my things against Zoo mirrors. Mitsuhide, he brings the Hunter, saying, I want to cover my bases, but Hunter's been able to do very well. For example, even the last series where he was able to get Q into the Warrior. Didn't exactly work out the way he wanted it to, but on paper it's working out, and it got him to this point. And it's a really funny time to be alive, guys, where we still say that Hunter is something fresh, is something different. I don't expect to say these things ever, but yet here we are at DreamHack Winter's Grand Finals and saying that Hunter is like a pretty unusual but cool thing.
Probably because of the fact that Unleashed Call of the Wild is getting
Unleash the Huffers, let's just call it by what it is.
That's what I wanted to say. But in general, if that card was still for 8 mana, probably would have seen a lot more Hunters than we see right now.
Certainly, certainly. So when we look at the head-to-head, Sottle, is there anyone advantaged here?
And it's really interesting because it really breaks down the last hero standing versus Conquest dynamic. In Conquest, I would say that Mitsuhide was favored here, or Mitsuhide, sorry. I did double check with him. That is how you pronounce his name. Mitsuhide.
Sottle's a weeb, confirmed.
Yeah. I'd say he was favored because the one wrinkle in the 2 lineups is Control Warrior on one side versus Hunter on the other, which gives the edge over to one side. But because there's a Zoo, in Last Hero Standing, the fact that Hunter is in Mitsuhide's lineup means that Zoo is set up to sweep. So I think the lineup edge goes to Weghuz, but to contradict Life Coach just a little bit, I think Mitsuhide has played the best of anyone so far today.
All right, so we have differing opinions. Good luck to both of our competitors. It's time to begin the grand finals. We're going to kick things off with Druid versus the Zoo Warlock, and I'm going to hand it over to Sottle and Lothar.
And doesn't start good for Weghuz. Like, this is the first time I actually see him without a 1-drop when starting with a Zoo. And that is actually a huge thing, especially when playing against a Druid who can have an explosive opponent like that. Do you maybe think in some situations, especially in this matchup, that you can actually spawn just a 2-2 instead of ramping up?
In a word, no. I would never ever do that on an early game turn. When it starts to get to maybe 6 mana, 7 mana and beyond, sure, then we can start to talk about it. But if you choose to generate the token in the early game, when you think about the total amount of mana that you pay for that 2-2 over the course of the game, the next turn you don't have a mana crystal. The turn after that, you're paying 7 or 8 mana for this 1-2-2 depending on how early it comes down. So the ramp is just way, way more effective. Mitsuhide here does get the early presence, and what a start this is. We have not seen that percentage, whatever it is, be it 40% or 10%, as Dan said earlier, that Druid wins this matchup. We really have not seen it this week at DreamHack, but now, after this start, maybe finally Mitsuhide is going to be the one to get the lucky break in the bad matchup.
It seems like the stars are aligning for him, because now, on turn 3, basically, he is allowed to play as a Drake with the spell damage on a Moonfire to clear a minion, basically having a huge board advantage, tempo advantage, and card advantage. I mean, not losing card advantage at the same time. So a huge turn for him. Weghuz is not really looking good in this situation. Abusive Sergeant pointless unless you will have a charge minion, which doesn't happen too often right now. And every single minion just loses on the spot.
Yeah, really does. And you mentioned he didn't have a 1-drop in his opening hand. He did, of course, have that Abusive Sergeant, but this is the big nerf to the Abusive. It still does what it does when you have a board. You know, the +2 effect that has charge, essentially, is amazing if you have got a minion on the board. But in the old days, we'd quite often see Zoo just keep Abusive to play on turn 1 just to have that consistent curve. You can't do that anymore when it's a 1-1. It's just too individually weak. And you see Weghuz getting punished here significantly for that Abusive nerf. And wow, what a curve. It seems like just Ancient of War be a nail to the coffin. Can't really do much with that. Doomguard has to be played on turn 5 to get it back on the board, but with that being played on turn 5, you sacrifice a lot of card advantage, and now... okay, this kind of changes situation, but if you play the Wrath, even if you play the Wrath, you can't really develop the board. Right.
And that's the thing.
The line is War this turn into Wrath Arcane Giant next turn. That's what you're going to end up doing. So yeah, generating the 5/10 here, absolutely correct in my opinion. Weghuz does pick up the second Doomguard, but it's 1 card too deep in the deck for the immediate impact that he would have loved here. So he's going to have to take a little bit of a slow turn, just developing into this Ancient of War, not being able to punch through it. And now, because the Doomguard is quite correctly probably not going to attack from Weghuz, the Arcane Giant Wrath Punish can potentially come out here. But does Weghuz have the insight to attack in here?
I actually think that the attack is really needed.
Interesting.
First of all, because you don't have access to many 5-attack like clusters, basically, on this deck, because you don't play POs anymore, right?
Okay.
The Soulfire deals 4, you would have to sacrifice still the Imp. You have the access to Doomguard, right? So if you trade this turn, your opponent will most likely kill your Councilman and then leave it on the mercy of the Flame Imp, right? If he doesn't use the Wrath. And even if he doesn't do that, he can still use the Doomguard. But it's 100% that you will trade.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. There's no point in attacking with the Doomguard to play around Wrath, because if your opponent has Wrath in their hand, what happens is exactly what you saw here. He still manages to clear your board with that Wrath. But the explanation you gave, I'm totally on board with that. That makes sense. But either way, it's a formality, really, because Mitsuhide had this Arcane Giant to back up the Wrath that he did have. And now even this Doomguard, one of the most powerful effects in the game when you can play it from an empty hand, is just not going to be strong enough to compete with this insane power start that the Druid's been able to put together.
And even that Mitsuhide paid for that explosive start with an innervate and did lose.
Oh, baby.
Jesus. Did lose a lot of card advantage at the beginning. He's still ahead in card advantage because of the fact that Weghuz was pushed to use both of his Doomguard with still cards in hand. So now this is actually kind of ridiculous. The Nourish can be used as a 3 mana draw free. He will have 2 mana left.
You can actually Feral Rage this turn because both Doom Guards are used, meaning there is nothing that kills this Fandral from an empty board. So by clearing up the board, you actually have a guaranteed Nourish the next turn, unless it's Soulfire tap Soulfire or Soulfire tap Peddler into Mortal Coil.
Or
That's
Peddler.
the only way this goes down.
Yeah. A single Peddler doesn't do much, so it has to be double Peddler, but he already played one.
So by using the Feral Rage now, you guarantee the Nourish, you guarantee your Fandral sticks around long term. If you just Nourish there and whiff on picking up a 2 mana or less removal to take care of the Doomguard, your Fandral dies immediately and you actually get less long-term value out of it. So this play actually makes perfect sense from Mitsuhide.
And now it's a hard decision for Weghuz. Like, if he wants to use the Soulfire first,
It's not a hard decision at all. He makes the right play. He sees the lines. Bottom right, buddy. There you go. 1 game to Mitsuhide in the end. And there you have it. For the first time that I can remember seeing, at least on stream, Druid managed to get it done against Zoo in the unfavored matchup. And that is huge in Last Hero Standing when you can pick up a win in an unfavored matchup.
True, but it also picked up the music right now. That's new, I think. But you're correct. This is the first time I actually see the Druid winning against Zoo on stream, at least, and it's huge because that was the deck that we hyped so much, that is capable of sweeping your opponents and just winning the game on the spot. Here we have Mitsuhide with his own Druid, and his hand has a Wild Growth and a Maya Keeper, so access to double ramp. And this is huge in this matchup. Yeah, that's Weghuz. Yes. Mitsuhide has the Raven Idol to have a chance to get a Wild Growth from it, but doesn't get it.
Yeah, Starfire, the only real high-value card here. Savage Roar, not of any great use unless you're playing the token variant. And yeah, one of these openings is significantly stronger than the other. You can write in at home and let us know which one it is, but I'm pretty sure you can work it out. Wild Growth, Maya Keeper, Innovate in one hand, and just a slow, clunky collection of mid-game and late-game minions in Mitsuhide's hand. So Weghuz definitely has the advantage early on, but the Druid Mirror is quite often set up for the long game, and it comes down more to Ragnaros tempo and Arcane Giant tempo in the late game than it does to these early game skirmishes, but the player that hits the ramp is obviously, it goes without saying, just enormously favored.
And that was always the case.
Yes.
Even with different Druid decks, the Wild Growth and the Innervates is a staple that every single Druid plays, unless it was the aggressive Druid without the Wild Growth, but still with the Innervates.
Yes.
So basically any mirror match is heavily depending on the mana ramp. Was it a Raven Idol into Raven Idol?
It was,
it, right?
Yep.
Well, at least it's like a coin for the Arcane Giants in this case.
Yeah, very true. He had the option of picking up a Nourish, which maybe can go along with this heavy hand that he has, but it's too far away if he picks it up at this point, so he does just go for the Raven Idol plan, trying desperately to find a Wild Growth of his own to catch up with some of this mana advantage. Doesn't get it. Another 3 mediocre options picked up. He's going to go for the bite, just making sure he's got plenty of that mid-game removal. This makes sense because I think Mitsuhide can see he's going to be playing from behind in this situation, and he's going to need a few of these mid-game removals to deal with a few of the mid-game threats. The Maya Keepers, the Fandral, the Emperor, make sure none of those run away from the game. Then maybe his own Emperor and Rag can start to drag him back into the game.
True. Also, Bite is a good answer to a Fandral after you use the Swipe and the Starfire.
It's very
I mean,
true.
he has a wide array of answers when it comes to mid-game minions, but the problem is, at some point, those minions will become, well, quite huge, and a single answer will not be enough. I'm not sure if even Mitsuhide is playing a Mulch.
Mitsuhide, let me see. He does not have a Mulch in his Mali Druid. He has double Feral Rage, whereas Weghuz has 1 Mulch and 1 Feral Rage, so small difference in the lineups there. but no mulch in Mitsuhide's version of the deck.
And now they're just going downhill for Mitsuhide when he will see the second ramp in form of a Maya Keeper. So not only board presence, but also the mana acceleration. And this has to be answered. Arcane Giant, not bad, because you have access to fall spells and the Emperor, so it is an actual threat that can be played even before the Ragnaros.
Chooses to go with the bite there instead of the cheaper Wrath because, you know, coming up there are draws where maybe he picks up a Drake and an Innovate or picks up Fandral and he can tie the cheaper card together a lot more nicely. Just easier to weave in, and a 1-mana Wrath after dropping an Emperor is actually extremely effective in a lot of situations. But
especially with
the
Malagos,
Ancient of
right?
War here is something that he is not prepared to deal with, and as we mentioned, and Weghuz will know full well, there is no mulch in the deck for Mitsuhide, so he can happily start developing these big minions, especially after he's seen one of those Raven Idol spells go down now, so he can rule that out as being a mulch. There's only one card left in hand that he needs to account for in terms of the mystery card from Raven Idol.
Historically speaking, Druid always had problems with big minions, and I can't imagine an easy way to just go through that huge amount of HP that Ancient of War has. And you have to do that probably with the help of a Ragnaros. Oh, look at that. But unfortunately, last turn, he didn't attack with the hero power. I was actually thinking about it. Should he attack with this hero power that he paid for to that Ancient of War?
Oh, to set up Innovate Ragnaros if he drew it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a very real out. When you are behind in this kind of situation, you do have to consider all the niche outs that can get you back into the game. And yeah, it did hit the Innovate there, so if he had have considered that eventuality, maybe taking that 5 damage would have paid out for him. But still, we'll see. Now he has the Rag available, so he can innovate the hero power now and essentially go for the same effect after hitting the discount with Emperor. So no real harm done in this situation. Now the Fandral as well allows some explosive turns later on, potentially, if he can pick up some of those synergy cards. But I think this 5 and 9 needs to be addressed, and the Ragnaros Innovate hero power play is looking pretty promising.
The other option is... Actually, there's no other option. That was just, you know, looking for anything.
Yeah, there you go.
But not possible. He can go just for the swipe instead, swipe face, so not to save himself 5 damage. No, he can. What I'm talking about. Never mind.
Yeah, it's going to have to be the Innovate hero power in this situation. No, he's actually going to leave it there, not take the damage. This basically signals full intention to swipe next turn, and with 2 copies of swipe in hand, I guess that's very real. He can get a good swipe turn down alongside more removal using the Innovate, or alongside an Arcane Giant if he's able to swing the board. So this play actually makes sense as well, as having hit the Ancient of War. He does allow it to trade off, but honestly, he probably feels like if that trades off, he's in a reasonable spot anyway, because it's that single minion that's been terrorizing him so far.
I think actually it telegraphs the swipe.
Sure.
Because you just... Maybe you don't have an Innovate for the hero power, right? Maybe there's no other card you can actually play that is beneficial in a situation when you're staring at a 5/9 minion, in this case. But this is the turn when you actually have a way of making a comeback.
You certainly do, and the real question here is which of these minions in hand are you most okay with getting mulched? Because I think from Mitsuhide's position, although it seems like, well, by dropping 2 threats, he is playing around mulch to an extent, but the amount of dead cards that have been sat on the left-hand side of Weghuz's hand for this entire game, I think you can definitely give credit to one of those at least being the mulch. So he drops the 10-10 here, which is probably the premium mulch target in the deck, apart from the Malagos. The Malagos is now picked up, and the double Moonfire and the Living Roots.
Picked.
Wow, Weghuz seizes out the Wild Growth there. Picking up Malagos was lethal due to the Innovate in hand, and he ties up the series just like that. And that matchup, the mirror match, was carried pretty much extensively by the early ramp, and just that one Ancient of War just beating away over and over again, getting him into range for that Malagos burst combo.
Interesting game, especially well played by Weghuz, because he saw his outs in this turn, the last turn. Most of the players would just instantly snap for mulch, just kill the 10-10, and then think, how do I deal with the Fandral now? Right? But he was actually thinking about how I win the game, and that's the proper mindset when it comes to, well, every single game in Hearthstone, basically.
Very true, but now we are going to see the matchup go in reverse, and Weghuz is going to have to emulate the performance of Mitsuhide at the start of the series. This is why that win is so important, because it puts the other player in the position of having to win an unfavored matchup as well. Winning that mirror match just probably wasn't enough for him. He's going to have to pick up this win, but the Innovate Maya Keeper start is exactly what Mitsuhide had last time alongside the coin, and now Weghuz, while going first, has access to the Innovate Maya Keeper as well.
And a ref on top of that. But he doesn't want to keep it, so he's looking for... What he's looking for instead for
He's
a
looking
Wrath.
for second Innovate, obviously.
Oh,
but no, honestly, like Wrath, for me, in the early game, is not a particularly good card against Zoo. It's at best 1-for-1, right? You're going to spend 2 mana on removing one of their threats, but a lot of the time, they are playing, 2 1-drops on turn 1 with the coin, sometimes another 2 1-drops on turn 2 afterwards, and then Wrath on your turn 2 only deals with one of those threats, so you immediately force yourself to fall behind. I don't look for Wrath in the early game against Zoo anymore. It's sometimes a card I'll keep alongside other strong hands, but I definitely don't mind Weghuz here mulliganing it away.
But there are some minions that just require immediate attention, like Nav Juggler.
Sure.
Because if you just leave Nav Juggler around, you can't even play an explosive Innervate, because your minion might just die to a combination of random juggles, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand the risks, but with the Innovate Maya Keeper, I think you can definitely afford to go for a greedier hand, a more power curve hand than holding on to the Wrath, and that's what Weghuz decided to go for here. And we'll see if the Innovate Maya Keeper does as much work as it did for Mitsuhide in the opening. Mitsuhide does have a slightly more explosive opener here on the backswing, but not the greatest peddler outcome. Blood Imp, Runic Egg, Bloodsail Corsair, not what you're looking for here at all, and he may even
Take the Runic Egg.
Yeah, I mean, Runic Egg isn't terrible. He's going to take the Blood Imp here for the buff, and the coin is going to come down. Make sure he grips the board early enough, and yep, there you go. There is the intended usage of the 1-mana card that he picked up that turn, getting discarded to the Soulfire.
Maybe he knew that he will discard this card and just didn't pay much attention to its pick. But now, with the second Innervate, Emperor is able to help get back on the board, and it looks great with the combination of 2 cards that he has already waiting for turn, well, it's not turn 7 because it's actually turn 6.
Yes.
But it will help a lot getting back on the board as well. From Mitsuhide, it's actually, I think that's the
This knife
best.
is huge. Oh, it goes face, means he loses his Imp to trade out the Emperor. Sorry to cut you off, but that was a huge 50-50 on the knife.
It was a huge 50-50, but now there's a huge decision for Weghuz as well, and he recognizes it immediately. Drake needs to go down, especially with that Moonfire. Would you consider playing the Living Roots just for 2 1/1s here? After one Knife Juggler was killed?
I actually would have done, yeah. You've seen one Knife Juggler come down. You're a little bit exposed to Argus for a value trade, but not enough that it matters. Like, Argus would be a weak play if it then value traded into a 1-1. You have the other 1-1 remaining to just completely dominate the board. I think I would have liked to see the Roots come down as board presence in that state, but with the Drake on the board and a second Drake, the second Drake was drawn, but with the Drake on the board, he was just valuing the strength of it as a removal option. A lot of decent 3 health targets that he can use. Lots of valuable 1/3s in the deck that you want to be able to take care of. So I can understand his reasoning, but I think I would have gone for the board presence in that situation.
Now the huge discard, and it leaves the Golem in hand still. This is a chance for Weghuz to actually take the game back with Druid again.
Yep. And it's been markedly similar to what we saw from Mitsuhide. We saw from Mitsuhide, we saw Innovate Maya Keeper come down, we saw Drake Moonfire come down. Both of those things happened. Mitsuhide actually chose to generate 1/1 tokens on the board on the turn where he got board control and just continued pushing and dominating from there. Weghuz had the opportunity to again do that exact same thing, but passed it up. So they have both had nearly identical draws and defeated the Zoo in the same fashion.
Now he's even starting to raise the Zoo, because that Acid Drake is actually a beater. It's a huge amount of damage when you consider that it's 4 attack. And you still have the swipe in hand, so you have a huge margin of making an error here, because you just have the tool to reset the board, basically.
Yeah, Mitsuhide just tapping away here, trying to pick up some kind of answer to this Azure Drake, but he's just going to have to continue developing into it. And whenever Weghuz feels significantly under pressure, he has that kill switch that he can flip in the form of the swipe to be able to tidy up the board. That time might be now, depending on what he can pick up from this Raven Idol. Does he even maybe go for a minion in this
what I want
position
to
to
say.
try and get a grip? Yeah.
A minion will be actually better, and he goes instantly for it. Good choice. Okay, now let's think about it. There is no 10 cost minion in his deck because he's not playing the Ishar version.
Correct.
So that falls down.
Yep, easiest mounted Raptor of my life, just fills the curve, swipe clears the board, Raptor comes down. This was an insane turn for Weghuz.
The Raptor is actually insane in this matchup as well.
Yep.
Trade with almost every single minion apart from Imp Gang Boss and Consulman, and you still leave a minion around, so that's actually insane. Oh, right after the swipe, down goes the Forbidden Ritual, which changes the dynamic, but fortunately for Weghuz, his opponent is at 13. And that's an awkward turn.
Yeah, it really is. He just doesn't have the life to sustain this push anymore. I don't think he's going to need really efficient buffs this turn so that he can deal with this board and produce an aggressive board presence without having to tap too much this game. Dark Peddler could definitely get him there, but he's going to need the abusives, the power overwhelmings, potentially. Direwolf would have been the best natural draw from his deck. Shield Bearer, not really what he was looking for. I know we're seeing Zoo dominating again, but there's no reason to go all the way back to Shield Bearer. Come on.
Somewhere in the world, and I know it's in Sweden, Yon Shopping actually, Reynard is laughing right now.
Reynard never laughs, come on.
I saw him laugh once.
Okay. He didn't enjoy it.
The juggle goes straight to the dome. Doesn't really impact the situation. Now it's kind of awkward. It all depends what kind of one-drop is being spawned by the Raptor. It's a measly 1-1. Second juggle goes to the Murloc. And now it looks interesting, to say the least. The mulch can be used just to go through that wall, through that shield bearer, but...
Yeah, but now the race is on. He just has to draw a damage source. Wrath can recycle here. Mulch can be used to take care of any high-value minion he needs. And the other thing that works in Weghuz's favor in this situation is that any minion that he plays has to be dealt with from the zoo, so that he can buy himself a lot of time, just in that way. I believe he still has both nourishes left in his deck as well that can dig him through. So his outs are fairly extensive at this point, although the Drake was killed, which plays around the Living Roots #2 as an out.
Yeah, he played one Living Roots, that's correct.
Yes.
So what are his outs? Second swipe. There are no more Druid of the Claws in the decks anymore.
Nope.
So no more charge minions like that. And Moonfire alone is also not enough, so we'll have to get a combination of Malygos and a Moonfire, an example.
He also still has the huge minions like Ancient of War left in his deck, which are essentially out because you can just exhaust this board presence that the zoo has. And now that he's tapped himself down to 1 life, of course, all the other outs come into play as well. And crucially, he's not able to keep tapping to keep his hand high on resources. So if you can start putting up big walls with the Ancient of War, that is essentially, quote, lethal as well, just because of the huge roadblock that it will put in the way for the zoo.
It's a very awkward situation for the Zoo player. Now he's not able to just raise his opponent.
There it is!
Here we go, Moonfire. My thought was just, even when you in a position like that, when your board is way bigger than your opponent, actually it's just null. You can't really afford to raise because you still need to have at least 1 taunt minion on the board, so you lose the race by a lot because every single minion is basically an end game minion for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if suddenly your taunts come out of play, then suddenly things like Feral Rage then become lethal outs as well. You're just giving them so much of a higher percentage from their deck. So Weghuz now is on the hill. It's going to have to be the reverse sweep from this position with Mitsuhide's Hunter. And remember, he was a little bit worried about the Hunter coming into this matchup, saying that he wasn't too confident on how it lined up. But this opening matchup, at least against the Druid, it should at least be a strong one for him. Although, again, Weghuz has an incredibly powerful opener.
It is an incredibly powerful opener, but now... Okay, just wanted to say that without that Secret Keeper being kept in check by a removal spell, it can be out of hand quickly. But now with the Living Roots, that changes, and well, it's awkward. Mitsuhide now without a turn 2 play unless he wants to play the snipe, which is not a bad option, and I would probably prefer it over the Arcane Shot to the face in this situation, because you want to be on curve on turn 3 with most likely Animal Companion.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Wild Growth comes down here, which means Cloaked Huntress into Snipe could now block a potential Maya Keeper from Mitsuhide's perspective here. It's like that is what he's going to go for here. This is his maximum tempo play in terms of what was available to him. Knows that since the Wild Growth was played, he could be curving out into Maya Keeper here, and that at least, although it will still give the Mana Crystal, removes that board presence and means that he can just continue to push damage, continue to leverage his board development, do all the things that Hunter needs to do in this matchup, because you can't give the Druid time to set up.
If I'm not mistaken, Mitsuhide is even playing Hunter's Marks in his deck, right?
I don't believe so, no. I looked over the lists and noted down any particular tech cards I saw, and I do not have that. So unless I completely missed it, there is not a Hunter's Mark.
It actually would change a lot because of the Engine of Wars, but if that's not the case, then it is a huge blowout if any of the Engine of Wars will come down. But now, with the Freezing Trap for 0 mana, Weghuz will be in a tough spot. He's drawing on his spells.
He really is, yeah. So he can't really afford to play around Catrick here. The 3 spells in Mitsuhide's deck are Snipe, Freezing Trap, and Catrick. So he's seen 1 Snipe used already, so he'll be probably weighing this up as a 50-50 between Freezing and Catrick most of the time. I really don't think he can afford to play around it. He just has to start casting spells and hoping this is the Freezing, and that is what he decides to go for. Nourish seems good.
But I think
Moonblade
Portal is actually the best option here.
Interesting. I mean, I want to draw some cards really damn soon right now, because my hand is going nowhere.
But the quality of his deck makes it more possible to draw actually something impactful in the upcoming turns.
Okay.
Oh, he goes in immediately for the Portal.
Wow!
Oh my god!
The Freezing Trap does come into play. He's going to have a, 8 mana Reckless Rocketeer in his hand. That does not feel like a wonderful asset to have hanging around.
No, it's not really, it doesn't feel great, and now we can actually appreciate how the Freezing Trap was impactful. How much of the... Yes, subtle?
Well, hey, sorry, just a crucial point that just occurred to me. Playing the Moonglade Portal there and taking it over the Nourish seems kind of stupid, developed into the Freezing Trap. But crucially, when you cast Raven Idol, you don't learn if it's Catrick until after you pick the spell. So
Yes,
he
that's
would
correct.
not have known that that was Freezing Trap until after he picked the Moonglade Portal off the Raven Idol. If he'd have known that it was freezing, I'm sure the Nourish was the superior pick. But in that case, he just took the risk that it was the freezing and went with the Moonglade Portal.
Now a 2-for-1 goes for the Misha. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately, because he's going... It doesn't seem like it, because it's still at 21 HP, but the chunks of damage that will be dealt with those minions will actually be going just... It will just way too much for him to handle if he doesn't pay 2-for-1 for a single minion right now. Especially with upcoming turn. Maybe the Naturalize would have been a good pick.
Possibly. Ancient of War Innovate Mulch is available to him this turn, but the Mulch doesn't really take any significant amount of power off the board. Takes 2 off if he aims it at the High Main. It takes 3 off if he aims it at the Cloaked Huntress, but he's going to try and set up some kind of win condition here, clearing the board over 2 turns with the Ancient of War tanking these minions, trying to draw some more removal on the following turn, either from his deck or from the Raven Idol, but there is just so much removal now in hand to protect this board state if Weghuz wants to go that way.
The Kill Command is a good removal for the half of the Ancient of War, so you can easily use one of the Kindly Grandmothers, but that's not a good synergy. Yes, you want to play the Kindly Grandmother first before the Steward of the Darkshire, because you want that minion to actually be killed and not just have a Divine Shield.
Yep, if he'd have played Steward of Darkshire there, he would have got just an irritating Divine Shield on his 1-1 minion that he wants to pop open into the 3-2. So, yeah, choosing, of course, not to develop the Steward, just going with the Grandmother instead. Now, he is potentially threatening lethal with this board. 7 in play, quick shot is 10, 2 from the hero power. Druid will most likely find a way to gain at least 1 in this situation, but he's asking the question at least. There is a Feral Rage which can potentially buy him some time.
I like Bite better, because it buys you time and armor at the same
Good
time,
point.
so you can kill the Cloud Huntress, basically adding up 1 HP, which will be negated by basically 2 attacks from the Cloak Huntress. But there's an option that you can actually top deck at a Fandral next turn, and then the Feral Rage is way better.
Right. Yeah, I think his plan here maybe is to, you saw him pick up the Reckless Rocketeer, so he's looking to clear the minion this turn and then have more mana available on the next turn, try and use Feral Rage later to gain the full 8 health from that, and in that way he would net more life than Bite immediately over the 1 turn. He also has outs, like say if he draws Moonfire next turn, you illustrated the Fandral out, but Moonfire is a possibility as well. He can then go Malagos, Moonfire, Innovate, Feral Rage to heal and tie all that together, whereas he wouldn't be able to do that with the Bite. So definitely, again, this is something that I talked about before in the previous series, players learning to play off the top of their deck, know what all their outs are, what each card they could possibly draw changes in terms of the texture of their hand.
Thunder Rhino is actually very impactful in this situation. 2 damage to the face, it's an additional just pressure, and
Oh,
the fact is
look
that
at that.
that's the possible answer to a Thunder Rhino, but that's about it. Still, you're staring at 2 minions that can just bash your face. They don't really care about the Malagos.
But this Malagos, if he can live for 1 turn here, if this draw is just a little weak from Mitsuhide, this could be match point for Weghuz because he has 2 draws to try and hit a swipe for the full board clear. Argent Horse Rider isn't the most impactful pickup, but it is important in essence that it's sticky, it's hard to remove from the board, it's resistant to swipe. So now I think Weghuz has no option, Mitsuhide here has no option but to go all in. The buff on the Argent Horse Rider, fairly irrelevant in this situation, but still playing the sequencing in the correct order nonetheless. And I think this is all now going to come down to swipe or bust for Weghuz at least. But this game, there's the swipe!
There's a swipe, but it's still not enough, at least from our perspective, to sustain a projectile from Mitsuhide's hand. So he needs to get another Feral Rage.
Nope, doesn't get it. So yeah, he's going to make the trades in the best way that he can, taking the minimum damage, swipes the face, gets the board clear, but this quick shot in hand is going to mean that we're going to go all the way to Game 5 in our Grand Finals, and I wouldn't have it any other way, Lothar.
Well, that's the best way to play the finals. No one wants to have a clean sweep in 25 minutes.
Nope. And Eaglehorn Bow picked up, going for the top deck factor, the tilt factor, just trying to put him on edge for this last game. It's a very, very cute tactic that can maybe get you that extra tiny percentage of win rate, try and frustrate your opponent with the top deck. Weghuz, to his credit, does not look like he was affected by that one little bit. And now we are going to go into the Warrior against this Hunter, and after him being a little bit scared of the Hunter, it's actually the Hunter that's put him in very, very good position at the end of this series.
I think the story of this series is actually Zoo losing to Druids.
Yes.
And this is why we are in this situation when Weghuz is in the matchup where he was intimidated by the fact that he, historically speaking as well, Hunter is always over the top on a Warrior. When it comes to the power of the minions, the Death Rattle minions, nowadays are almost as the same power as in before, because the Kindle Grandmother is almost at the same power level as Hunted Creeper, in my eyes at least. You still have Savannah Highmane, and those are the most impactful minions here in this matchup.
It's kind of cute that like Hunter's kind of picked up a little bit of class identity outside of the Beast tribal effect, is that it's actually become like the Death Rattle class, right? In terms of Death Rattles that actually retain a board presence, they're the kind of exclusively the one class that keep getting new Death Rattles printed for them. So interesting in that way that they do then become the power class and resistant to some of these removal heavy decks like the Control Warriors, like the Reno Locks, etc. The Highmane pickup is huge, and now starting with the coin on turn 2, he's going to be able to pull together some real power plays.
This Savannah Highmane is the trademark of this matchup, and no surprise that the coin will be kept for turn 5. Oh, will be. Okay, so Cloaked Hunters on turn 3. No, he goes for the let's say card advantage. Not exactly per se, because it's all about getting the durability from the multiple traps that he will play in the coming turn. So Savannah Hamming will be delayed by 1 turn.
Yeah, I think this sequencing actually over the course of the game gets him 3 additional damage out of that bow, because if he'd have played it the other way round and Acolyte comes down on curve, the snipe secret gets activated straight away without buffing the bow. So by doing it in this order, he's actually going to get 2 additional charges onto this bow and not just the 1 that he would have done the other way. So he's actually net himself 3 extra damage over the course of the game.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have to use the bow then to attack.
Right.
So, yeah. Is it worth it? That's the question.
I think so. Yeah, I think this was actually a good sequencing from Mitsuhide, and it's actually put him in a nice position here where this bow is starting to represent a lot of damage, but he needs some help from his deck here. Anything will do in terms of playable minions. Would have taken a companion, even a grandmother, the horse rider. Infested wolf would have been the dream. Gets no such thing, and he has to just hero power pass.
And that is very uncomfortable for Mitsuhide, because now without the coin he's not able to put pressure on 10-5, which would be the case without the bow on turn 2. So this might bite him back. The cat trick is actually very annoying for him, because now Weghuz can actually just play around it, and he does it very well.
Yes, indeed. Mitsuhide now does pick up the Animal Companion this time. He really needed this. 1 more whiff would have been hugely important. The Huffer does come out, so he's going to push 6 more. Still has the bow chipping away. He's going to hold on to it, though. I love this. I think way too many players hang on just to the last charge of the Eaglehorn bow.
Because then you can't use it as a board tool.
Exactly. If you hang on to 2 charges, you have the freedom of attacking a minion anytime you want without losing your bow. So imagine if Justicar comes down on curve here. He has the bow to be able to take it out, and he still holds on to the long-term investment of the bow. I definitely do not see players do this enough, holding on to 2 charges of Eaglehorn bow and not just 1.
But then the dynamic of that changes when it comes to the longer game. Because in the early game and in the mid game, I definitely agree, especially when you know that your opponent doesn't play a weapon removal in his deck. But when it comes to the late game, when you initiate the race as the hunter, many times you need to use the bow even when you don't have the second bow in your hand, because you know you might not be able to attack twice with the bow in the same turn. So if you draw it, then basically you lose 3 damage in the game. And that can actually be win or lose against a warrior.
And Mitsuhide just going to get immediately rewarded here for his decision making. Can challenge the Justicar with the bow. Still has that bow charge ready with the cat trick in play. And there's going to have to be some spells used. He cannot afford to just Gorehowl this for 6.
No,
he's going to have to deal with it with spells, which means cat trick comes out. The bow gets buffed. This is brilliant decision making from Mitsuhide that puts him on the very hill of his first major title.
It's very close for Mitsuhide to take the trophy, because now let's count the damage. Even if you go for the shield block, you can kill the Savannah Highmane, but then you have 3 minions on the board and you will have 3 mana available for the bash. So you will gain 8, but you will lose in the upcoming turn 6 at least just from the minions. And that means you will be at -1 with the bow, -3 the current status with the hero power, and that is not a comfortable spot at all.
It absolutely is not, but this is just 10 damage, 13 damage with the weapon coming straight back in. He can replay a cat trick. He has the kill command to back all this up. He can track for more damage, which he might as well do right now, because next turn he has Rag available. He doesn't want to be allocating any excess mana to that turn. Tracking coming down here. Doesn't hit the second kill command, just those minions that he was looking for in the mid-game, not what he's looking to find now. He really just wants to hit his burst damage at this point.
I actually think those are good picks, because now we can get the Kindle Grandmother, fill out the board just to play around the brawl, squeeze in the hero power, and also very important fact, because this is tracking, those cards are just discarded.
Sure, that's a really good point, yes.
So you will not get the useless Cloaked Hunters anymore, you will not get the Infested Wolf. Oh, okay, he picks it up, so instead of going cat trick into Kindle Grandmother Hero Power. He just wants to play Infested Wolf this turn, I'm guessing. But still, the point stands, you will not get those minions now when you want to finish up the game as soon as possible. So a second bow after you use these charges of this one and second kill command quick shot would be way more impactful.
Yeah, as I think you laid it out perfectly there, both on the tracking and on the usage of this bow in the late game. He now recognizes that the time has switched, starts exhausting the charges on his bow just to push for damage. Cat Trick was replayed, meaning Weghuz wants to play a spell here before brawling to catch that second Cat Trick in it. The Bash will do that job nicely, but this means he is skipping a tank up, and it means that one of these minions is going to stick around on the board, and there is a Ragnaros coming to follow this all up.
And 6 damage over course of 2 turns with the bow.
Yep. And the cat wins!
Cat wins, that's 4-7.
9-14
That's a win.
damage.
That's a win, right? Am I counting this correctly? 8?
No, it's 14.
12?
Oh, with the Ragnaros, right. 12-15. No, he's still one
not
off.
enough,
Yeah.
still
He's
one
one
off.
off with the Rag, and I believe 2 off with the kill command. We can get the hero power in as well, but it's getting so close, and I love seeing this. I think Mitsuhide's played this game spectacularly well. I think he's played great this entire week, and it looks like he's right on the verge of being rewarded for his great decision-making. Cannot see enough of this in Hearthstone. Shield Block is going to come out to try and stabilize. Harrison Jones is just not good enough.
And too late to the game. Definitely too late. That bow, when it counted damage from 10-2, it dealt 12?
At least 12, yeah.
Insane
Must be.
damage.
How many secrets were activated? Yeah, 3 secrets have been activated, plus the 2 initial charges.
And
so I think that'll be the
that
15th
it is!
damage!
We have a DreamHack Winter Champion Grand Prix is...
Mitsuhide, in the end, picking up the victory. Frodan, what an amazing performance from Mitsuhide. I'm so stoked to see that, honestly, because I really think he's pulled himself through there with some exemplary play, which is perhaps something we don't get to say often enough in Hearthstone, but in this case, I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah, fantastic job. I think you captured a lot of the analysis perfectly with the bow on turn 5 going to turn 6 for that Hunter versus Warrior. And I think what a fitting way to end it for the tournament, given that Mitsuhide made the call for the meta, bringing Hunter and being able to play it very well in a pocket where everyone kind of thought that Zoo and Control Warrior and Druid would dominate everything if you ban the Shaman. Also fitting that for the second year in a row, Gamers Origin member was able to win DreamHack Winter and close out the year high for the French community once again, setting their spirits up in the cloud. They're so passionate on social media. They're so passionate on all the forums, and I can't really find another fitting way for us to end DreamHack Winter. So congratulations, Mitsuhide. What's going through your mind right now, man? You're the DreamHack champion.
I really cannot believe it. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm super happy.
You know, I think it's also, we were saying, fitting that the Hunter was able to end the series. Is there anything that specifically you can recall about the series that stuck out to you during your best of 5?
Well, like, I lost the Zoo versus Druid, so I thought, like, at that point, it was his Druid is probably favored against my Hunter, so I was a bit uncomfortable at that point. But when I won with the Hunter versus the Druid, I knew his Warrior was really weak to my Hunter. It was just a regular without Nizot and Katoon, so it was really favored then.
What's it like, you know, representing Gamers Origin in France, or I guess the French-speaking community, excuse me, and the fact that you guys were able to take it 2 years. Last year we had Purple, Freshhoff is America's championship, going into BlizzCon doing well, and then you are able to win it now, and I'm guessing the entire community is super happy for you.
Yeah, the community is great. Like, they're all cheering on Twitter, and the French community is just the best, by far.
All right, go ahead, guys. Open the floor for some more conversation.
I'm actually quite surprised that you said that you're unfavored against Druid,
Right, yeah, same thing.
Yeah, but his Druid was running double Ancient of War, and I thought, like, if it ramps into the Ancient of War, it's really hard for the Hunter to get through. It's probably close to 50-50, but yeah.
You talked about the progression where, you know, the first DreamHacks that you were entering, you had, you know, middling results, but you tried to enter the side event, and that gave you confidence to perform well in the tournaments. What's been the journey like, man, from entering the first couple of DreamHacks that you're going to all the way to this point?
Absolutely great. Like, I just keep practicing and keep doing the tournaments, and at some point, you know, you're just gonna make it.
Do you feel the improvement and with the opportunity to enter these big open tournaments?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like, DreamHack gives a lot of experience. When I play DreamHack, I learn way more than when I practice for like 2 months or something about which decks to include and all that stuff.
Awesome. You guys have anything more else? I think we can get some of the final things underway.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to give you a real heartfelt, well played, honestly. I got way too hyped watching that series towards the end there because you were playing great, like holding on to the bow, like the 2 charges of the bow to make sure that you had the tempo, like little touches like that, and even coining the bow first and then playing the Huntress afterwards was really clever as well. I love seeing great play get rewarded, so honestly, congratulations, you're a deserving champion.
Thank you.
And with that, I'd like to present to you the trophy. The Hearthstone Grand Prix DreamHack Winter 2016 champion, everybody. It's Mitsuhide. You guys can't hear, but there's a round of applause going across the venue. And of course, a bunch of his friends and press are actually gathered right behind this camera right there. So look out behind you. You're about to get bombarded by a bunch of press. Congratulations. We've had a wonderful year of DreamHack Grand Prix, starting with DreamHack Austin, where Chaki was able to win it, another local hero starting there. Going into summer, where RD was able to repeat, and then Evangelion winning on homeland soil back in DreamHack Valencia. Wrapping up here with Mitsuhide, keeping the DreamHack Winter Champion trophy home in the French-speaking community. And congratulations to everybody, and a big thank you to everybody involved. Go ahead, this is also your time to say thank you to anybody and all the fans as well.
Thank you to all my practice partners, Good Boy, Chinois, Dance WF, Bubblebox as well, my teammates, the sponsor, PokerStars, my team for sending me, of course. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry, but there's so many people I practice with, so thank you all.
All right, and with that, that concludes our year of 2016. Next year, we've received confirmation that DreamHack will also be doing more Grand Prix. So if you get inspired by Mitsuhide, if you get inspired just by the atmosphere and you love Hearthstone and you want to compete, look out for more opportunities local to you. For 2017, it's going to be an awesome year. From Frodan and everyone else here at DreamHack Jönköping, Sweden, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.